Hi guys, it's me, Carrie Silver Lining Mena, on another episode of Carry On. And I didn't know when I was going to come back. I knew eventually I would, and I really didn't expect to come back with the story that I'm coming back with, which is, well, I almost said it's a bit of a non-story, but it's not. It's just not the story that I expected to come back with because I left you with a bit of a cliffhanger. I was getting ready to go on my trip to Europe. But guess what happened? The universe went and threw a roadblock into my path, which really are just detours for something better, right? So let me tell you what happened. The day before I was supposed to go, now the airlines they'll send you like a text so that you can check in the day before from home. And I don't always do that because I fly standby and whatever. I went ahead and started to do it. And they gave me a notice saying that you can't go because your passport is gonna expire too soon to leave. And I was like, what the fuck? And that's one of the reasons that I kind of like didn't get my passport yet. It's because it's like, ooh, I'll get one more trip out of this thing. And I didn't know how long the passport, would take. And I didn't know when I was going. So anyway, I kind of put it off. But I didn't realize that there was like a 6 month window. You can't you can go into certain countries within a shorter window of 6 months, but you can't fly. Commercial airlines won't let you fly. So I was restricted from flying. I didn't even get to go. I didn't even go to Europe. But I think that the fact that I was willing to go, that I had the energy of going without an expectation, I think that was enough. I had done my work and that was enough, but the universe went ahead and saved me from going because, to be honest, my heart really wasn't in it. Remember, I wanted to just go relax on the beach, and the Netherlands, that's not the place where you go relaxing on the beach. But I had, I'd already decided to kind of go there just because the familiarity of it. And I didn't want the work of figuring out a new place because I was just fucking tired from all the 2 weeks of the other travels with my kids. And I got to do a side note real quick with that before I forget. I keep forgetting to brag about, well, part of the inner work that I've done at living in this house once I moved out from the family home was a lot of like the somatic yoga to release the trauma in my body that, the cells remember the trauma and shit. And one of the things it did is really, really boost my mobility. I was so stiff because when you like once I left that house, my body said it was okay. It's okay now to feel all of the bullshit that you've been dealing with. So all of my pain, my fibromyalgia, that's when the TMJ kicked in. All of the physical pain went into full blast. I couldn't even like roll over in bed. There was a lot of things I could no longer do, and I could not believe the level of pain I felt. So when I went up to my dad's and we started like scaling the volcano, I hadn't done that in a couple of years, and the last time I did it, I didn't go with my kids up high. I just would find a nice, beautiful spot and just plop myself and wait for them to have fun. Well, this time I was jamming up the mountain. I was running up the stair. Well, I wouldn't say I was running, but running for me, steep steps. I could not believe the power, the strength, the endurance I had. I was going to say compared to 2 years ago, but I'm going to switch that compared to my whole damn life. I'm so proud of me. Okay, so that's my little brag alert. Okay, so, oh, I derailed myself, I know. Okay, so my heart just wasn't in that trip, but to go to Europe. But I was so tired of being in my what I call my habitat because it really is a beautiful house. I was just thinking today, I was sitting out, I have like my protein coffee outside. It's like one of the only ways I get like the extra protein in me is I add powder and stuff. I'm not really into coffee in the middle of summer, but I drink it anyway to get the protein in me. And sitting out by the pool with the waterfall and the beautiful blue sky with the puffy white clouds and the contrast of the green grass and the leaves of the trees. It's just so beautiful. And I'm like, fuck, man, if I have to heal and I have to be trapped in a habitat, it really is a beautiful place. And I saw, I watched reels and there was this lady talking about like the horrors of the things that you don't realize of somebody healing from PTSD is once you do move out from the abuser, all of the things that you're faced with of healing, like having to start your life over, and all of like the bullshit of how the abuser turns everybody against you, and how you have to start over and get a job and figure out how you're going to feed your kids. And I don't have any of that. I have a I have a huge support system. My lovey really cares about me, and our soul selves really did hook me up, and I'm very, very grateful for this peaceful place to heal in. So even though I was very restless at that time, I really was, and I wanted to get the fuck out of my jail, my beautiful jail. I've calmed down since then, and I don't know why. I don't know what shifted. There's no rhyme or reason. Maybe just I was just feeling restless back then, just to have that experience of needing to get the fuck out. Anyway, I have peace here, and I no longer feel like I have to leave. I no longer feel like I'm going to be homeless immediately, like I have to take my money and run. And speaking of money, first of all, I know you're not supposed to brag. Not brag, because it certainly was not a brag, but discuss like your finances and stuff. But I'm naive, and I don't follow the rules of that. But when I mentioned that when we rent this house out and I would split the profits and get like a grand each, I was not clear. I forgot all about like how fucking expensive property taxes in here in Houston or Texas, Houston, both, I don't know which one, because that's how like on involved in that stuff I am. So I wouldn't even walk away with that. And that would have been like minimum anyway. That would have been a temporary minimum to survive on. But whatever monies I get from this place that we split, it'll just be like, little bonus monies. And I decided it'll be my secret beauty fund to support my beauty endeavors. Anyway, it will be a help, but it won't be like a career, like money. Anyway, I got to figure that out. So part of my path right now is to, I don't even know, and I was a little bit nervous about that because I really do, I don't want to be dependent on a man. I've been in that situation, and I don't know, it made me in a really uncomfortable position. I feel trapped, and I don't want to be in that position again. I don't know, there's such a thing as compromise, and there's such a thing as helping one another out, but it's a whole nother story to feel trapped the way I've felt. So becoming financially independent is very important to me. So the universe will align stars and help me find a way. So I'm not really worried about that, but I felt like right now is a time to start planting seeds and investigating that, like putting my focus into that. Um, when I first moved into this house, like when Levy and I realized that uh-oh, you're the one that fucked me up, motherfucker. We gotta separate because that's the only way for us to heal from that dynamic we were in. I didn't. It's not that I wasn't like thinking ahead. It's that I couldn't think ahead. I had the problem at hand, the issue at hand, and that's what I worked on, which was again healing my body, healing my nervous system. Working with the inner child, and my abandonment issues, which I'm still working on. And again, to reiterate, it's not that I've been abandoned, although that I believe that those are issues because my mom was never consistently there and stuff. But my bigger issue is me abandoning others. You know, the mama, the people pleaser, all of that. I'm always worried about other people's feelings, so I still struggle with that, like with my dog and my own kids. And oh, and speaking of that, okay, I do want to talk about that, but where I was going with this is when I first moved in here, I really thought it was all about the nervous system stuff. But then I realized that it was more than that. I had to revisit everything, like Larry, the narcissist, and then the president, how that all connected. And in hindsight, I realized that not only was it like politics and Larry and, the boy from the skating ring, that first episode or second episode I did, in hindsight, with all the Epstein bullshit going on, it was also tied into like sex stuff too, which I didn't, interesting. Okay, and then so I had to revisit like the mom stuff. I did that one again, and now clearly I'm revisiting 20 stuff. I had to revisit everything, including like the last member. I was like worried about like my body and all that, the dysmorphia. I had to do all that stuff again, and I'm still like feeling uncomfortable, chubby and old, and fuck man, I got another haircut. I got to deal with that shit again. It's too short. In about a couple months, it's going to be adorbs, but it's just too fucking short. But look, I love that the darker finally shows. It's cute. My hair kept pushing. I mean, my body kept pushing it a little flip out, and it looked stupid when it was all one length. So I said, put some layers in it. They put quite a few layers in it. Anyway, okay. Um, so I had to revisit everything again. I'm feeling better about everything. I'm just like, I don't know why I had to dip into all that stuff again, but I'm better. Okay, wait. So revisited everything. So I didn't get past needing to heal from the PTSD, inner child, all that stuff, like I just mentioned. But then as I'm chilling out a little bit, remember I started to hear like the cat noises, and I found out that it was like Avery communicating with me. I was reconnecting with Avery in here. So all that Avery stuff got my gears turning, and that's what latched me on to the story of Beautiful Mystery traversing the galaxies to go find her family in Nevada, which got me going on, and this was no accident. This story was plopped back into me for a reason to latch me back onto Michael, my twin story again, my imaginary relationship with my twin Michael, so that I can realize the potentiality of me doing a repeat, or not a repeat, but a first repeat, I guess. Maybe I did something similar as Mariana. I don't know. I got to say something about that because, like maybe I'm going to go over and do the same thing with Michael, all the stuff I said in the other video. Okay, I got to do like, okay, siblings. I got to write that down so I don't forget. Siblings. Okay. So, um, so that theme of I had to revisit all that, and what I realized was like that last video of me trying to like stuff Avery into Michael. I realized, the last video I did was that I was trying to accommodate Michael in a way. I'm not sure how he would react to me having a spaceman. It's such a weird thing. It's an actual like concern of mine, trying to accommodate my life to fit into his needs, his desires, which I'm not even sure what they are, but I'm preparing for that and the eventuality. And over these months, so another one of my assignments is to realize how much of myself I was trying to like squish into his world, like how I would be leaving my family in America to go accommodate him. And part of that's understandable because his family's little and he couldn't leave. But still, I was giving up my family, my dog, my world for his. And again, I didn't want to be in my habitat anyway, so it made sense. But I did the same thing I realized with my lovey when it was his job and I gave up everything. I gave up my in-state tuition to go live with him with his job. I gave up everything. So I never even really got to get my career started because I graduated high school early to start college early. And it still took me 13 motherfucking years to graduate college. And I never even used that degree in like the sense it was meant to be used for, which was a degree in education, which I really did use because it helped me be a good mama and afforded me opportunities in education so I could learn how to deal with children, work with children, since I didn't really have a good role model. But anyway, I gave so much of myself up, and what was the other thing I did with that? Let me see, I wrote it down, like all of the things, like, and this pissed me off because the last video I talked about, I got myself derailed, but I started to talk about that hotel. Remember that Dragon Hotel and how enamored I was by it because it's all old, and I compared it to the Alamo in Texas because that's the best, we got, or whatever. What I meant to say was that even when I chose the hotel I chose, I'm coming all the way from Texas, America to Europe, and I still found a place that was like a 20-minute drive from Michael. I'm still accommodating him. And again, in a way, I'm accommodating nap time for young children. But still, it's like, why am I always bending over backwards to accommodate somebody else? What about me? You know what I mean? So I realized how much I was doing that, how much I would give up of myself. And I'm going through all of this stuff, and it took me a while. And another thing I was realizing is that how much I was waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. I didn't want to wait anymore. I'm like, what the fuck am I waiting on this thing for? And like back in May, when all this stuff, was dropping into me, these stories and of Beautiful Mistress and the connections I was making, and I put all this stuff together about Watermelon Day and 11 years, the twin, all that stuff. That was just a starting point. I really wasn't like sold on that, but I was like, that's a good enough place to start. I'm totally fine that none of that happened again. I'm grateful that it didn't because, I didn't really want to go. If things weren't supposed to happen, that, then they weren't supposed to happen. And I'm not disappointed. Thank God I didn't, have to give all my power away and have a broken heart about that. That's evolution right there. Okay, so let me see. So, oh, by the way, I did like right away reapply for my next passport. I did it online and you get to choose your own picture. I just happened to have some handy, so I didn't have to go put sparkles on and take a bunch of pictures. Because every time I get my sparkles on, I take a few just in case I find a good one. And I didn't have a great one, but I had a mediocre one, which beat the fuck out of the one Walgreens did 10 years ago. So I got to choose my own picture. And doing it online, I got my passport back in less than 3 weeks. So it was quick. Um, Okay, so what else did I want to do? Okay, but you know what? When I did give up everything and move to New Jersey from California from my lovey's job all those years ago, there were plenty of cons with that. There really were, but there were plenty of benefits too because it was one of the best things I ever did. I loved New Jersey. I loved going off and exploring and stuff. So what I can take from that is I learned go on the new adventure, but don't be so stupid. Don't give everything up for it. Figure out what you want. So I'm still figuring that out. I have an idea. I have some ideas, and I just nothing's. You know, again, he hasn't even messaged me yet. So much of this is just it's an imaginary relationship. I feel like, a rule of thumb, I don't know if this is true because I really haven't met very many any people, to be honest with you, that I believe are having like a real twin flame relationship that I can actually engage with and ask them, was your twin flame relationship 95% fabricated in your brain? Because I feel like that's almost good in a way because I've done a lot of inner work with my husband, with my lovey, and you know, we've really hurt each other with the words we've said. We really have. There's been a lot of true damage and hurt feelings between us. But Michael and I, since it's imaginary, I could rage at him and he doesn't even need to know. I can have these whole scenarios, these whole conversations, these whole arguments and dialogues. They don't even have to be real, but I still get from point A to point B without even having an actual conflict. And I can't believe how much stuff goes on in here. And I'm still like latched onto these, like I keep calling them the tarot readings, and some of them are tarot, but they're energy what are they called? Astrology. So they're not like I don't mean to say they're inaccurate, but they're general. They're general. So not everything is specific. Like, well, for example, this one reader kept talking about the very important paperwork. The important paperwork. You don't fuck up the paperwork. And this was right when I was getting ready to go to my dad's, and he had mentioned something about power of attorney. So when I get there, I'm like, well, Dad, we can go to lawyers for the power of attorney stuff or your will, whatever it was. He goes, Carrie, all that stuff's taken care of. You should have told me. I would have made the appointment. And I'm like, oh, okay. I just let it go because I was like, well, I guess that wasn't it. I guess the tarot guy was wrong, or I don't know what the fuck he was talking about. It was my passport. So you gotta kind of figure it out. So I really really use these things for a lot of guidance, a lot of food for thought, and the energies would shift, like the readings would shift right along with me. And sometimes I'd be ahead of the game and then the messages would match and align with what I was feeling. Other times the messages would be ahead of me and then I'd catch up. So I don't mean to say that I'd like plug my feelings into it and force because there's some that were like so way off, I'd just switch it off. But there were plenty of them that helped me sort my feelings out and stuff. So there was a lot going on. And again, I think I've mentioned that I always thought astrology was a bunch of horse shit. But I'm a convert. I've converted. And there was a period, I don't know if you guys paid attention or not. I never would ever before, but we had like two eclipses in September. And in between these two eclipses, I went fucking nuts. I flipped flopped back and forth so many times. I even did this video before and I really liked it. I watched it immediately afterwards and I was like, I'm good to go, but it's late. So I was going to publish it the next day. Well, I watched it again in the morning just to make sure I had already changed. I was like, oh my God, thank God I didn't publish this. I'm a completely different person. That was just like, I don't know, 9 days ago. So we'll see if this one gets published. But I went back and forth so many times. It was crazy. And I learned later on in hindsight that the eclipses basically, like the theory behind them is you eclipse old things out. I sure was. And one of the biggest things I went through was, is it Michael? Isn't it Michael? Is it Michael? Isn't it Michael? Because the guides have thrown so many like yeses and nos in. Like, for example, Eric. And Eric, is he my twin? Not exactly, but close enough. So go with it. And then, Fairy Girl let me know that, oh, I'm not meant to be with him in this lifetime. And then, other things like Eric told me, or maybe Fairy Girl, know that Michael's going to be at my funeral. And at one point, we're going to be the best of friends. And so much conflicting stuff. And then I remembered the time that, I gave so much power to the readings and it ended up, they just gave me a bunch of lying bullshit so that I could learn how to be discerning. So I really believe that now is a time for me to be discerning. So in this time of flopping, I'm really, really trying to be discerning, but the energies are going crazy. I'm going crazy. I can't figure it out. I had to just throw it away. I was like, I'm going crazy. And it really brought me down, but that's okay because it was a time of, purge and release. But I went nuts. It was a bad time. Having said that, I've been through worse times and I knew I'd get through that one too. But again, now I'm back to the place where I do still think it's Michael. I think my imaginary relationship may become a real relationship one day. But again, I'm still okay if it's not. I don't, I feel like talking about this stuff. It's not that it embarrasses me so much, but that's the wrong way to say it. But I feel like people that listen to me say this stuff, like especially my friends, I feel like the people watching this may be on their own twin flame journey, so they may get it. Those of you that aren't on a twin flame journey may see me still giving my power away to this relationship. But I'm gonna kind of compare it to like either being pregnant or death, in that death is coming, but you don't live your life obsessing about it. Just like a baby, if you're pregnant, that baby's coming and you might obsess about it a little bit, but it's your baby, yay. But you don't live your life, just obsessing about just that. Your whole, well, I don't know, maybe a little bit, but you know what I mean. You still got to go to work or go to school. You still got to, cook dinner for the other kids or pay your bills. You still got to live life. You got to do regular stuff. You can't unknow that this baby's coming eventually. You can't unknow it. If you know it, you know it. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But I still feel like the need to have that disclaimer that I'm not attached to the outcome just to appease the doubters in my world. I've really disassociated, unattached. I don't know what word. I don't even see my friends anymore. And I don't know why. If maybe just all of us or maybe just me need to just be in this place of isolation. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me or everybody. Have you guys been in isolation for the past several months? I don't know. Um, what else did I want to say? Um, oh, so one of the things that, that was very frustrating to me, like in the guidance from these readings that I've like latched onto on YouTube, and I enjoy them. It's not like in the olden days, like when I became so dependent on readings, it was like I needed them to tell me what was next. I didn't really, these are like entertainment to me. I liked them. They made me feel good without, I don't know. I really feel like I'm in a place in my life where these were sent to me because they have been beneficial. Like I have enough discernment and enough inner guidance that they were not ruling my life. And let me give you one of the examples of that. One of the things that they're saying is that in this like twin thing, and I kind of have this. No, I'm not going to go into it, but there's going to be a little bit more push pull between me and Michael, and that's just fine. It's going to end up okay, but in this push pull, oh fuck, where was I going with this? I gotta find it. Oh, always it's like one of the things you got to do is let go and take care of yourself. Focus on yourself, right? I mean, we're always told to do this. Quit giving your power to others, external sources, etc. And one of the things, like in this show, this is my alchemy. Once I press publish, and I realized I don't even have to press publish as long as I have the intentions. Just like I had the intention to go to Europe, that was okay. Like last week, I had every intention of pressing publish. I got through that. I didn't press publish, but anyway, I had intended to, so I got through that stuff. Anyway, I found a little loophole. I don't always have to press publish, but I have to have the intention. So, oh shit, I keep losing my place with this one. Oh gosh, don't press pause, Carrie. Find it. Find it. Okay, so the tarot cards were saying that, focus on yourself. Oh, I know. Okay, so the alchemy. I press publish. So one of the things in this push pull stuff is that when I speak to him, my bar was set pretty low before with him, and somehow I'm supposed to get an opportunity to say, hey, my bar's not low anymore. And that's going to create a shift, and I'm feeling like, how can I be independent, or how can I make that shift? How can I do my alchemy if he doesn't come back, if we don't have this conversation and I tell him I set my bar higher? So I was like getting frustrated, because it's like, how can I do my alchemy if I was dependent on this opportunity to, you know press that symbolic publish button of telling him my bar's not low anymore, I've shifted. um So I was like, wait a minute, I ought not be dependent on him for that. I'm still dependent. I'm dependent on him to come and, press that button. So then I just did it in my brain, and I'm doing all of the things I can, and I'm cutting imaginary cords, and I start decide, all these other things are shifting, little itty bitty things. I'm getting little teeny tiny, like, I can't even call it a nugget, but I got specks of dust of potential future endeavors when it comes to career. I don't know if they'll go anywhere, but they were enough to shift my focus elsewhere. Because I was like begging, I'm like, I'll do anything. Just give me something else to focus on. Because, I'm not lazy. I'm really, I'm a go getter when it comes to my inner work and my evolution. But there was nothing coming at me, which I know is part of it. Part of it was me, waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting until I realized I don't want to wait. I had to wait so fucking long to realize I didn't want to wait. What a fucking lesson that was, right? Don't worry, there was a lot of other stuff going on in the meantime. So one of my other lessons was to quit waiting and figure out something else to do. Not a whole lot's coming in, because I think my shift's going to happen all at the same time, and I'm just going to blow up. But so one of the other things, one of my favorite tarot readers, he's just so cute. He's just such a little cutie pie. He goes, one of the things you can do to create like distance between you and your twin is to stop watching the tarot readings. And I was like, I can do that. So I did that. I just shut it all off. And even though I do get some, I get guidance, and I get a lot of joy from them. They make me happy. Although sometimes I OD on them, and it's like anything else. You watch too much of it, too much TV, or too much sun, or too much food, or too much anything. It just, you need a break. So besides it, when I overindulge in them, I do enjoy them. But I did take a break. I took like a 2-day break, whole 2 days, which is kind of a long time when you watch them all the time. And even that, just, I feel like it made a shift. I don't know. We'll see. Because here I am making this video I don't know how much of, well, no. Because the last time I did this video, I was so confused. I was in my flip-flop place, and I didn't know anything. And the not knowing, you know what I mean? Not knowing something is so unnerving. You'd really rather hear the sorry, sad truth than wonder about it. You need closure, you need peace, and I was in a place of not knowing. So anyway, I feel pretty peaceful right now. Okay, let me see. Let me go through my notes real quick. In fact, I'm just gonna put you on pause for a sec while I go through my notes, so you don't have to stare at me doing that. I'll be right back. Okay, I really only found two little things in my notes, but I feel like I have like more to say. I always do. But okay, one of the things in my notes is that not only did I find like little teeny tiny like specks of dust of hits on possibilities for career stuff. I still think that that's going to come later because remember I was told that I get to do like shows. I think somehow my shows will become monetized or those will lead to events or something like that. I just think that that has not been brought to me quite yet. And I do like my healing. I hope that will pick up too. But another thing that happened is remember, okay, let's do my body now, my weight and my body. Something's going to happen that's going to cause you to lose a lot of weight really quickly. I've mentioned this many times that I thought it was maybe the injectable medication. Then I thought it was this, then I thought it was that, and I didn't know what it was. I knew it had something to do with a shift, like an energetic shift, and I'm still on that cusp. Whatever that is, I think it's this. That's why I'm begging for it. I think it's whatever's going to happen with me and Michael. I think that's my final, my boss level. So that's why I'm so anxious for it to happen. And I know I'm sounding kind of shit. I don't think it's going to happen like this. I really don't think so because I don't want it to. But I still have to think in hypotheticals because I'm not giving my power away to this and insisting that it happened. But in my imaginary relationship, when he comes back, because he has to come back in my story, he has to come back because I started off as the chaser. I can't chase. I can't. I don't even want to. So in my imaginary twin flame relationship, he comes back and I'll tell him to fuck off. But I don't really want to tell him to fuck off. I just have to tell him I've leveled up. My bar's higher. But when that happens, that's my big shift. That's when, everything happens. And when I went to my weight management clinic 3 months ago, I don't know if you remember, but my dietitian or whoever she is, I don't know what to call her, she specifically said, no, no, you can't do keto because it'll fuck up your hormones. And I've tried so hard to get them, what happened to my hair? To get them, balanced out and stuff. And so I was like, say no more because I really don't want to diet. I really don't. But in the past like 3 months, I didn't want to go back to the diet place, at least not right away, because I'm like, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Not my diet, not my weight, not nothing. I'm doing the exact. My shift hasn't happened. I don't talk to her about my shift because she's pretty sciencey, and I don't think she'd understand it. But I went anyway, and I actually lost like 11 pounds. So I'm averaging like a pound a week without even trying. I have reached a place in my foods, my intakes, where I really truly feel like I'm eating whatever I want, whenever I want, within reason. And I say that I've mastered that intuitive eating, which at one point I thought it meant like I was going to download like information. The guides would tell me, okay, today you need to eat salmon and broccoli. I thought it was going to be like that, but no, that's not what it means. It means listening to your body enough to know what you can and cannot eat. So I had to learn that the hard way. I have, because of my PCOS and my insulin resistance, I can't eat late. And the thing that's because it will give me like an insulin spike at 3 a.m. and wake me up. I can't eat, as many people. I can't eat spicy stuff because I'll get indigestion in the night. If I do, I better sleep sitting up, all that stuff. And I can't, I'm lactose intolerant, so I have to be careful with that or it'll make my stomach upset. And I realized I learned how much food is connected to hormones and all this stuff. I didn't know that stuff. So having gotten all that stuff under control, my cravings went way down. I have no more interest in shoving my hand in the cereal box. I don't get like excited and gleeful when a bag of licorice is in sight. I just don't care anymore. I'm so pleased with that. So I eat about 2 meals a day. And like I mentioned, I wasn't getting enough protein, so I've added coffee back into my diet. Anyway, so when I went to my dietitian this last time, I asked the last time I went there if I could have some phentermine again to help with the cravings because I was going to go back to keto. And then she's like, no, no, don't do keto. But she still gave me the prescription. Our wires got crossed. I never took them because I never did the keto. So we talked about the phentermine again. And I said, I never took them. I didn't do keto. And she goes, why not? And I go, well, you told me that I couldn't because of my hormones. And then she pulled up my chart. I'm making this way too long. I'm sorry. She pulled up my chart. We looked at graphs. I don't know what the fuck they were. And she goes, well, I'm changing my mind because look at this, 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 and this. She goes, I think you can do it. And basically what she was saying is that because keto is not sustainable, and when people get off keto and go back to their regular way of eating, they put their weight back on. But my regular way of eating, I'm still losing 1 pound a week. So I now qualify for keto and I really don't want to do it, but I can do it for a few months because you really do lose a lot of weight really quickly. And when I'm done with it, the guides told me that I'll figure out when I'm done, I'm done. I don't, it's not a number on the scale, I don't think. I'll just feel, okay, I'm good. I'm over this keto shit. I'm ready for sourdough bread again. Because that's another thing. I eat a lot of sourdough bread right now. I'm getting away with my favorite fucking bread. That one's low on the glycemic index, apparently. My favorite one qualifies in my diet. Okay, so anyway, so that's it too. So the motherfucking universe, all this pendulum shit, which by the way, I don't think I go just left and right or back and forth. I think I go all the ways. And on the one hand, I think that's really good, but on the other hand, I think that leaves me prone to overthinking. Okay, but anyway, I think that's here too. So I'm having like a total glow up. I'm going to figure out money. I'm going to lose my weight. I'm going to get the man. I'm going to get the adventure. I'm just theorizing. But we'll see. Oh, another thing that the tarot keeps saying is that I'm going to get that. Not, I'm paraphrasing. I'm saying it in a different way, but that I told you so. I'll get to have that moment and like tell all my ha ha doubters. I didn't realize how much that affected me, but it does. And that's part of like going all the way back to my mom, like mocking my relationship with my lovey. And then Allison mocking my relationship with Michael. And my friends now, they make comments to me now where they invalidate it in very, very kind ways. They try to let me down easy, but twin flames aren't real. They're just myths that, help people evolve, but they don't really ever come to anything real. And I know that there's talk behind my back. I know there is. So, this is something that I've had to just sit on for over a decade and it doesn't feel good. Can you imagine how good it will feel if and when, you know, I'm all in love with my man somewhere? So that will be nice. It's just kind of a bonus. I don't need that, but that will be really nice. Okay. Oh, and then one little last thing. Remember, okay, I've mentioned this theory before, like M6, how I think that maybe Heather and Michael are M1 and M2. Not Michael, sorry. Heather and Eric are like M1 and M2. And it's a possibility that me and Michael are 3, 4, 5, and 6, or maybe Michael's 3 and I'm 4, 5, and 6. I don't know. Wonder if though, if me and Mariana are like 3 and 4, we combine to be this new person. Wonder if because Michael did Eric the favor this time around, and I know that I was all wrong about Avery and Michael, like whatever, look at this is my word. This is my symbol for what I'm trying to say. But wonder if Maurice, Mariana's love, who died in that lifetime and is the reason for me doing the twin flame relationship here, wonder if some sprinkles of Maurice plop into Michael. Just like some sprinkles of my baby that I miscarried plopped into Soba. Because I do have that superpower of soul recognition. Or whatever. But maybe maybe that's what Eric meant again by is Eric or is Michael my twin flame? Not exactly, but close enough, so go with it. Maybe he wasn't my twin. Maybe Michael wasn't Carrie's twin, but maybe Michael Maurice is Carrie Mariana's twin. Anyway, that's a theory that's possible. I don't know. I was gonna say that would be weird to have sprinkles of a completely different like um incarnation or soul or whatever, but we're not, but how different are we? We're all from Minerva and it's just sprinkles. According to Eric, me, Heather, and Michael all have, we all have each other's sprinkles anyway. We're all a little bit mixed together. So maybe it's not that big of a deal at all. Maybe it's just equally crazy just to have like Mariana's. It would be, me, Mary and Mariana both coming from Fairy Girl is just as nuts as Michael and Magerlo and Maurice coming from Eric has his own like name, a Mergerlo and Fairy Girl name. Remember, Heather is Heine. I can't think of the other name. I can't say it. But But Eric has a name too. I always keep that kind of secret. Maybe one day Heather and I will share it. Okay, so that's it. I guess that's it for now. I'm gonna go ahead and stop. I always say that. Okay. Oh, please, Carrie, do not have forgotten anything. I always do. I always do. Hmm. Anyway, I'm feeling pretty good these days. I feel good. I feel at peace. I'm still swimming. I had to take a whole week off because the pool was nasty, but it's fixed now. And oh, that's what I do. I'm still kind of backing off on the tarot readings. Because I just am. I don't want to. I don't want to give my power away to them. I don't think I am. I really look at me. I'm like wrestling with myself. I think I've done just fine with them. They've been, they benefited me quite a bit. But now, because I'm trying to like detach from that energy and trying to have discipline, I allow myself one tarot reading while I get into that cold motherfucking pool. It's cold now. That's my treat is to get in while I listen to the tarot. Then I switch it to like Atomic Dog and stuff so I can get my jam on. All right, guys. Thanks again for, helping me with my magic. I'm going to press publish, I think. If not, I have every intention, so my magic's going to work anyway. Okay, you guys. I'm excited for the next episodes because I feel like we're going to make some real progress soon, right? All right. I'm getting ready for some adventures too, according to them tarots. Okay, you guys. Thanks again for listening. Thank you so much for being on my journey. If I didn't have this show to either really press publish or not, I couldn't grow the way I do. So you guys are so important to help motivate me to tell these stories. So remember when I said that I'm so glad my viewership is really low because I feel like shy to share these stories? I am glad about that for now. But just because I'm glad it's low, I'm so grateful for those of you that are watching. I need you guys. I need you. All right. Thank you. Bye. I was just about to shut it down and remembered at the last minute. Remember, I typed into my phone real quick the word siblings? Okay, well, just real quickly, I realized a theme. You know how my lives are like piggybacking on each other. In that first life as Mariana, remember that I gave up my life to care for my siblings. I had three little siblings I had no way to feed them, so I had to go do the hooking. And then so this life, when I was, 15, I chose instead myself and abandoned the sibling with the narcissist or whatever. I abandoned the sibling. And so, you know how some people like think that karma means, ooh, you get what's coming to you? Well, I subscribe to the definition of a soul choosing to experience like the same circumstance but from opposite um, perspectives. So I feel like my karma was choosing to sacrifice my life for the siblings and then choosing myself instead of sacrificing my life for the siblings. And so now I'm at this crossroads of choosing myself again, but at this point, all of the siblings, the children, the siblings, the dog, my babies, they're all going to be like, situated and okay. And that's going to play again in the next life when I'm beautiful mistress, traipsing across galaxies looking to match different species up with habitable planets to match their biology. And I can't take the babies with me. They need a more stable environment. So again, I'm going to leave the babies behind, but the circumstances, I'm not leaving them behind with the bad guys. I'm leaving them home with the community of Sarsar, in which, from my experience through interviewing them, it's a loving community. So my life is evolving, but always with leaving the children behind or not leaving the children behind. So anyway, that's one of my life themes, and I wanted to just throw that in there. That's my little tidbit at the end that I'm throwing in. All right, bye again.